Stop right there, yeah? I'm talking to you, the lake behind my house. That belongs to my daughter, and I'll be damned if you people think you can just roll in and claim it for your HOA circus. I must have looked like a lunatic stomping out at dawn in my sweatpants, yelling at a mob of over 50 folks stringing up banners, lugging sound equipment, and getting ready to live stream a boat race in what they thought was our community lake. But let me tell you, Karen, our ever-glorious HOA president had skipped a few details, like the fact this lake was on paper and in practice a county livestock waste processing facility registered to my daughter since 2012. So as I watched Karen act like some wannabe mayor doling out orders in a blinding white blazer, I figured, fine, if she wants a show, I'll give her one, just not the one she's expecting. Now, that morning had started like any other. I was out watering my tomatoes, enjoying the kind of quiet you only get in the country when I hear this low rumble. Trucks, voices, the whole HOA parade rolling down the hill. They were setting up chairs and pitching pop-up tents by the water, unloading what looked like a DJ booth. The lake, my family's lake, has been in our hands for over a decade. My daughter Sage, only 19, inherited it from her grandma Margaret, who was nobody's fool and made sure everything was airtight with the county. What nobody at this festival seemed to grasp was that Karen, in all her HOA glory, hadn't bothered to get permission from anyone. She just declared with the kind of fake pep you only see at forced office parties that this lake would now be Willowbrook Heights community space, and expected us to clap along. I watched from the kitchen, steam rising from my coffee as Karen commanded her loyal troops. She looked like she'd spent hours practicing her bring us together speech in the mirror. I stepped outside, made my way through the crowd smell already tickling my nose, and tried to keep it civil. "Excuse me," I said, "but I think there's a little misunderstanding here." The entire group fell silent. 50 pairs of eyes locked on me, sizing up the grump ready to rain on their parade. Karen's smile went full politician. "Oh, Mr. Blackwood, how wonderful you could join us." She was buttering me up like I was a guest on her talk show. I felt my jaw tighten, but remembered what my late wife Sarah always said, "Don't fight fire with fire, fight it with facts." So I told her plain and simple, "This is private property. It's not available for public events." The energy shifted, unfriendly murmurs, some wise guy calling me selfish and another saying, "The lake's been sitting there unused for years." Karen had done her homework on public opinion, I'll give her that. But they didn't know what I knew. I glanced up at my house, thinking of Sage probably still asleep after a late night studying. Instead of arguing, I took out my phone and started quietly activating all those hidden security cameras I'd installed last year after a break-in. If they wanted a party, they could have it live on every angle. Karen wasn't here to build community, she wanted control, and I saw it in her eyes, that cold glint you see in people who need to win at all costs. "If you continue to interfere," she announced, "I'll have no choice but to call the authorities." The threat hung in the air like a challenge. Instead of taking the bait, I went back inside and called Sage. She picked up groggy, but when I explained what was going down, she shifted into lawyer mode real quick. "Dad, you need me to come home and bring the paperwork," she said. I told her, "Bring everything." Because here's the twist. Sage had already sent Karen a certified letter with full documentation, the EPA permit, the county license, the works warning her this was a registered livestock waste processing facility, not a rec center. Karen had signed for it. She'd had all the facts and chose to ignore them. That's when I realized this wasn't ignorance. This was Karen's brand of stubborn, calculated power play. I asked Sage, "Did you know she lost custody of her daughter 3 years back? Court said she couldn't respect boundaries, always had to be in control." The chill that ran down my spine wasn't just about the lawsuit I knew was coming. It was about realizing Karen's war wasn't with the lake, it was with us. Sage got in her car, armed with every legal document you can imagine. While she drove, I watched the community celebration ramp up. Local news even showed up with Channel 7's Jake Morrison setting up for a live broadcast, everyone thinking this was about to be the happiest day of the year. Sage stormed in, eyes blazing, ready for battle. Dad, if she goes through with this after receiving legal warning, it's not just ignorance, it's criminal, she told me. We stepped outside the crowd, bigger than ever, the air thick with a smell only a livestock farmer would recognize, but everyone else just shrugged off as lake funk. Karen was in her element, preening in front of her stage mic in hand, rallying the troops, Mr. Blackwood and young Sage. "How wonderful to see you join our community," she announced, spinning the narrative for the crowd. Sage stepped up, holding out the letter. "Mrs. Whitmore, 3 months ago you signed for legal notification that this lake is a registered livestock waste processing facility, EPA permit and all. You ignored it." For a split second, Karen's mask cracked. Then, in a grand gesture, she ripped up the letter and tossed it toward the water. "We don't let selfishness stand in the way of community spirit," she crowed. The crowd cheered. Karen announced the boat race would begin in 30 minutes. "This will be a day Willowbrook Heights will never forget," she promised. Oh, she was right about that. The air horn went off and a fleet of colorful boats hit the water, smiles, cheers, the whole thing. Then like a switch, the smell hit. Not the gentle whiff from before, but a full-on tidal wave of something you can't unsmell stirred up from years of well processing. The first kayak flipped and the poor guy who went under surfaced, looking like he'd seen a ghost now covered in a stink that would haunt his nightmares. Jake's live stream caught every moment as confusion turned to panic. Sage, ever the lawyer, stepped forward, documents in hand, and announced for the cameras in the crowd, "This is a registered livestock waste facility. Recreational use is dangerous and illegal." What followed was pure chaos. People paddling for shore, some leaping from their boats and swimming, some frozen in shock, the festive mood evaporating in seconds. Karen desperately grabbed the mic, trying to calm everyone. "It's just natural lake sediment. It's healthy." Nobody was buying it anymore. Then Deputy Torres stepped up finally. "Ma'am, I need to see your permits and documentation that this water is safe." Karen tried to ignore him, but the damage was done. Jake's stream went viral, over 75,000 people watching, then 2 million by the next day, with memes and hashtags like #poopgate exploding everywhere. Karen's comeback was classic. Hire a lawyer with $15,000 of HOA money and sue us for deception. Local news painted us as the villains. And Karen's supporters went nuclear online, launching Facebook hate groups and smearing Sage as some kind of eco-criminal. I found Sage crying reading those attacks. People accusing her of poisoning children, of hiding toxic waste, all while she'd tried to stop this whole disaster. I wanted to march over and confront Karen, but Sage stopped me. "We fight with the truth, Dad, not anger," she said, just like her mom would have. So we built our defense. Sage uncovered emails showing Karen had not only ignored warnings but pressured Dr. Thornfield, the county's environmental expert, to stay quiet, threatened her job, misused HOA funds, lied to everyone about the lake. By Thursday, at the emergency HOA meeting packed with 300 angry residents, Sage stood up and laid out everything. Photographs, certified letters, financial records, even emails of Karen's threats. The room went silent. The tide turned, and when Deputy Torres announced the county prosecutor was investigating Karen's power, evaporated. The vote to remove her wasn't even close. In the aftermath, Karen pled guilty to misusing funds and intimidating a government official. 18 months of community service restitution and a lifetime ban from office. The lake became the Blackwood Environmental Education Center. Sage turned it into the subject of her award-winning thesis. Dr. Thornfield led tours teaching kids how waste management works, and even Gladys Penny Whistle, the 83-year-old who caught Karen reading environmental reports in her car, became a local legend for her investigative photos. And Karen, last I saw her, she was picking up litter in the park, putting real work into cleaning up after all her damage. I actually felt a twinge of sympathy. She could have been a great leader if she hadn't let her need for control ruin her. Sage graduated with honors, set on a path for environmental law, determined to help communities avoid disasters like this. You know what sticks with me most? Justice doesn't always show up in a courtroom or even in the headlines. Sometimes it rises up, stinking and undeniable for all the world to see. Have you ever dealt with someone in authority who was dead wrong but fighting back felt impossible? Did your community ever turn a disaster into something good? I want to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs a reminder that truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep someone tries to bury it.